Today, thank you very much for coming in, Councillor Christin Carmichael Greb from Ward 16.
Hello.
Nice to have you here. You've been on the job almost a year. Well, yes and no. I mean, you were elected a year ago, the end of October. You actually took office, I guess, the beginning of December. So it's a little bit less than a year, but you've had enough time, I think, to have your eyes opened by stuff perhaps that you didn't expect and see things and confirm stuff that you did expect down there. Before we get into that, though, I'd like just quickly tell our audience, what did you do before you were politicians? Because everybody has different impressions of politicians. People constantly say, I hate professional politicians, and yet they keep voting for people over and over again because they do a good job. They sometimes seem to think that this should just be a transition, sort of a short term in your career. Councillor Carmichael Greb, what did you do before politics?
I worked in project management at Bombardier.
Okay, so you were on a management job. What has surprised you, if anything, in the first year? Is there anything that you just frankly didn't expect?
Probably council meetings and how they run and how sort of the mindset of, keep some motions till the very end so that you can get them through and
the tactics of it.
Yes, yeah.
Of the timing, yeah. Mm-hmm. The council meetings, are they the best or the worst part of your job?
I tell people that they're often the worst part of the job because it's not the day-to-day stuff that I'm doing.
No.
I
love my job. I don't hate council meetings, but I would say, I'm not out there talking to the people that I was elected to represent for those 3 days, which is what I'm doing the rest of the time.
When I was there were at the beginning of council's term, there were very clearly two teams and a bunch of people left off. But because there were teams, they could watch each other, and they had strategy sessions on both sides to figure out what time they were going to bring something forward and who was going to hold it and keep it until a certain time. Does that happen down there still, and are you on a team, or are you kind of winging it on your own?
I think it still happens to an extent on the big issues. Definitely with sort of the left of council, they're very well organized, and they make sure that they know what they're doing each step of the way. But at the same time, I think, there are times when everything's just kind of up in the air and you just kind of grab it at what you can do for that point.
You can read the councillor's handbook, I guess, but it probably doesn't tell you all the stuff that you wish you knew.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a huge learning curve. And I know with me, where I sit in council, I've got Sarah Doucette on the left of me saying, don't vote that way, and David Shiner on the right saying, no, vote that way. So, I mean, you have to figure out your own sort of groove for it and know what your residents want you to do as well.
One of the advantages that advocates of ranked ballots put forward is that it would, in theory, they argue, make it easier to get rid of incumbents, because we did have in the last election a number of long-serving councillors who probably wouldn't have won under a ranked ballot system, because there were two or three other choices that probably on their own would have been more popular, but perhaps split the vote. Is that something that you considered, Christin?
I've never been a fan of ranked ballots, and really why I voted for Councillor DiCiano's resolution was because of that. I don't see that it will really make a difference. People look at me and say, well, you only won with 17% of the votes. So with ranked ballot, we could have had someone else, but I don't believe that. I worked for over a year very hard to make sure that I was elected, and when you have 16 people on the ballot, it's very confusing for voters who to pick for number one, let alone number two or three.
There is an op-ed in The Sun today by former City Councillor Gordon Chong on the issue of privatized garbage. And a report came to, I guess it was Executive or Public Works, I can't remember, Public Works. Basically sent it back for consideration. It's basically been taken off the playing field. Should it be? Why are we not moving forward? This mayor promised in his campaign that he would move the city towards fully privatized garbage. That's not happening. Why isn't it happening?
I'm all for looking at privatizing east of Yonge. So I don't have a problem with that either.
Thanks very much. We are basically out of time. I'm speaking with Councillor Christin Carmichael Greb, Ward 16.